Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Slipping Out. This time we're going to be taking a look at the game Life is Strange, and that's because a few of you guys out there have been asking for this one. I wasn't going to do it at first, but I've managed to slot it in. Now there are 5 episodes to this game, and this video I'll be covering episode 1, and depending on how this one does, I may continue to do the others too. The first thing I wanted to take a look at was the title screen, which is overlooking the town where the game takes place. None of the buildings actually have anything inside of them, so I'm not going to waste too much time looking in each one, but I'm just going to give you a rough idea of what's going on in this area. Alright, so at the beginning of the episode we wake up in a storm as Max, and we're located near to a lighthouse. Now, even though we never enter inside the lighthouse during this episode, if we fly inside we can see these steps, and you might think that's pretty strange being we never enter the lighthouse, but you'll see why that is later in the video. I also thought it would be pretty cool to see inside the eye of the tornado with all the flashing lighting effects and the objects blowing around, and it does look pretty cool from inside. The town is much the same as we saw earlier, but what caught my eye was just how small this part of the map is compared to the surrounding scenery. Moving on to where we actually wake up in the classroom, it was always intriguing to me to see what was outside past the restricted view of the windows. When we get out here, we can see that some of the students are billboarded, which I've explained what that is in previous episodes, and we also have some that are just 2D animations. One thing I didn't expect to see, and it was hidden way over in the distance, past the skybox even, was this base map of the town. Now obviously all the buildings and the scenery are missing, but I thought it'd be good to show you guys that it is here. There are some other places in the academy that I wanted to show you that you may have been curious about. The first one being the science room, which we never enter in episode 1, but if we fly through the door you can see it is still here, although there is nothing that you can pick up when you're inside. The other one being, where do the students go when they go up these stairs? That may be a little bit disappointing to see, but at least now you know how it works. Something a bit different to what we've seen so far is how the cutscenes work, and you'll see in this example how Max and other characters move and even reset positions depending on when the camera would normally be on them during the scene.
So what do you want?
I hope you checked the perimeter, as my step-ass would say. Now, let's talk business.
I got nothing for you.
Wrong. You got hella cash.
That's my family, not me.
Hey, do you hear that fire alarm? That means you should be outside.
I had to use the bathroom.
Girls always use that excuse.
Excuse for what?
For whatever you're up to. Your face is covered in guilt.
The alarm tripped me out.
Then trip on out of here, Missy. Or are you hiding something? Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Madsen. The situation is under control. There's no emergency here. Leave Miss Caulfield alone, and please turn off that alarm since that's your job.
So when we make it outside after the fire alarm, I wanted to take another look, and of course there is much more detail now, and the characters are mainly back to 3D models, although the characters in the distance, like the ones across the road, are still 2D. When we fly on over to the car park, which we'll come to later in the episode, we can find this guy hidden behind the map. You can see his head just popping up there, and he's actually riding a bicycle behind the map. Why he's there, I'm not too sure, but we can also find other models hidden inside the walls of the academy. When I first played this game, I was curious to know what was outside the map when we were trying to enter the campus. And where do Victoria's friends run to after leaving the dorms? You probably guessed it. They go down the stairs and one of them actually goes through the wall, but then they just disappear at the bottom. I was hoping there would be some unexplored rooms in the dorms that maybe we wouldn't have seen before, but this bathroom is the only room that has anything hidden behind the door, and I'm not sure whether that's because we go into it in a later episode. Hopefully one of you guys can let me know.
Max Caulfield, right?
Going back to cutscenes, the car park scene is a good example of how they work, and I've tried to edit this to get the best angles I could.
Prescott's own the pigs here.
Get away from her, dude!
Hey! Leave him alone!
Nobody tells me what to do. Not my parents, not the principal,
Stop that!
or that whore
Right
in the bathroom.
Max? Chloe?
No way. You again.
Go! Go! I got this!
Get in, Max!
Get your punk asses out of there now! Don't even try to run. Nobody. That's me. Nobody!
Funnily enough, in the car ride to Chloe's house, we can see the model of the camera is moving along outside the vehicle, and this is where Max gets her camera from during the
Not after
scene.
seeing you.
Please, girl. You came back for Blackwell Academy.
So we are now at Chloe's house, and again I'm just going to fly the camera around to show you guys what's here. When we enter Chloe's stepdad's room, a bird hits the window. But where does this bird come from? It's actually hidden just chilling out underneath the roof of the house opposite. And again, let's just take a trip with the camera around this part of the town. Coming towards the end of the episode in the game, and indeed the end of this episode of Slipping Out, there is something rather strange about the sun that I wanted to show you guys. From a distance it looks fairly normal, and I actually expected the sun to be part of the skybox, but it isn't. You can see when I move the camera, the reflection in the water stays pretty central to the camera. However, the sun stays where it is in the sky, and that's because the sun is right here as a separate ball of light, floating just above the sea. Pretty cool effect, but rather strange when you see it like this. Anyway guys, the last thing I want to show you is about what I said right back at the beginning about the steps inside the lighthouse, and they are solely there from the very start for this last scene in the game when the boat smashes into the lighthouse. Once the top section has fallen away off the side of the cliff and surprisingly stays floating above the sea, we can see inside the lighthouse and the steps.
Storm is coming.
So that is it for this episode guys, I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Like I said, if this one does well I may do another video on exploring episode 2, but for now, take care and I'll catch you soon.